On her wedding night, the woman had to spend it. David won. Her husband would rather drink coffee with friends than come home, because he and his wife barely knew each other. They had only met one day before his father forced them into marriage. Even though his wife prepared a table full of delicious food for him, the two of them didn't say a word to each other. Annie felt like a complete stranger. She tried hard to become a Chuda-vitified wife. Since her husband liked coffee, she spissy-Davidly brewed some and served it to him, but David showed no appreciation whatsoever. He asked David, "No matter what you do, I'll never accept you as my wife." David didn't want to be around his wife. Just as he was about to leave, he discovered Annie had prepared clothes and a tie for him. David was furious. He warned Annie never to touch his clothes. David. David firmly believed Annie married him with ulterior motives. The more Annie acted like a wife, the stronger his conviction became. Confused and frustrated, David went to the beach with his friend to clear his head. He bragged to his friend that within 3 months he'd make his wife ask for a divorce. As they were about to leave, they got hit by some guy on a bicycle. The guy asked David if he was an idiot. David didn't waste words and punched him right away. This landed him Str David to J Davidal. The man refused compensation and insisted on pressing charges ag Davidance David. Davidly panicked. He didn't want his father to find out. Meanwhile, Annie at home received a C Davidal from the police. After Annie arrived at the station, she sincerely apologized to the man. She Davidly convinced him to drop the charges. David was then released. Back home, David asked Annie why she did that. Annie asked David, "I just did what a wife should do." This made David even more confused. Why was this woman treating him so well? That night David slept on the couch. Annie thoughtfully covered him with a blanket. When Annie left, David suddenly woke up. He had Davidly been pretending to sleep. The events of that night had shaken his beliefs. That day, his parents who had been traveling Davidly returned. The woman immediately gave Annie a dirty look, warning her that her good days were over. Sure enough, when no one else was home, the woman immediately started bullying Annie. She grabbed Annie and tried to throw her out of the house. Then she tossed Annie's luggage outside. Annie quietly went to collect her belongings. She could have just David'd away, but Annie remembered her promise to her father-in-law. No matter what happened, she would protect this marriage. So she David'd back into the house with determination. Then she went to her room and locked the door. The old woman kept pounding on the door. She immediately ordered the servants to bring the spare key. When the door opened, the old woman was furious. She screamed at Annie, telling her to get out of this house. Then she tried to grab Annie, but she used too much force and Annie hit the Davidal directly. She David'd on the spot. The old woman completely panicked. If her husband found out, he would definitely kick her out. Just then, David came home.